Good morning. Thank you for joining me today. This morning we'll be in Psalm 1, chapter chapter 1, verses 1 through 6. Um, Here we go. How blessed is the one who does not follow the advice of the wicked, or stand in the pathway with sinners, or sit in the assembly of scoffers. Instead, he finds pleasure in obeying the Lord's commands. He meditates on his commands day and night. He is like a tree planted by flowing streams. It yields its fruit at the proper time, and its leaves never fall off. He succeeds in everything he attempts. Not so with the wicked. Instead, they are like the wind-driven chaff. For this reason, the wicked cannot withstand judgment, nor can sinners join the assembly of the godly. Certainly the Lord guards the way of the godly, but the way of the wicked ends in destruction. Yeah. An interesting start to the book of Psalms. Just laying out a premise here that the way of the godly exceeds that of the way of the wicked. And what does the way of the godly look like? It looks like not following the advice of the wicked. We're standing in the pathway with sinners. We're sitting in the assembly of scoffers. The advice of the wicked. I think, especially in this day and age, we are inundated with information and how we should live our lives and what we should like and what we should dislike and what we should be mad about. And for the Christian, we should practice discernment and not follow the advice of the wicked, but instead rely on God and obey His commands regarding everything. Yeah. Sit in the assembly of scoffers. A scoffer, I guess, is one who's incredulous at the suggestion of something, which, I mean, for me, I guess a lot of atheist apologists fit that role of a scoffer who doesn't even address the claims that are being made, but resorts to ad hominem and just doesn't mocks. Instead, for the righteous, he finds pleasure in obeying the Lord's commands. He meditates on his commands day and night. Yeah. It's important for us to meditate on God's word day and night, and I think part of that comes down to discipline of establishing routines for digging into God's word. Yeah, he is like a tree planted by flowing streams. It yields its fruit at the proper time, and its leaves never fall off. He succeeds in everything he attempts. A tree planted by flowing streams always has its life source available to it. It doesn't go through dry spells, but is always fueled by the thing that causes its growth. And in the same way, we need to be fueled by God, essentially. Yeah, and in contrast to the strong, immovable imagery of a tree, not so with the wicked. Instead, they are like wind-driven chaff. Um, they just, when the slightest resistance comes against them, get blown away. For this reason, the wicked cannot withstand judgment, nor can sinners join the assembly of the godly. Yeah. Contrary to what the wicked experience here, that is, they cannot withstand judgment, it implies that this one can withstand judgment. And how Jesus imputes righteousness to us, that means that his righteousness is substituted in place of ours when we confess our sin to him and believe in him. And in that way, we can withstand judgment. Certainly the Lord guards the way of the godly, but the way of the wicked ends in destruction. Yeah, the way of the wicked is self-serving. It ultimately is looking how to prosper oneself. And when when you die, there's no more self there to serve. So that legacy crumbles and dries up. But even in life, the way of the righteous affects not only yourself in a good way, but others as well. Yeah. Carrying on here, Proverbs chapter 1, verses 1 through 6. The Proverbs of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel, to learn wisdom and moral instruction, and to discern wise counsel, to receive moral instruction in skillful living, in righteousness, justice, and equity, to impart shrewdness to the morally naive, and a discerning plan to the young person. Let the wise also hear and gain instruction, and let the discerning acquire guidance, to discern the meaning of a proverb, and parable, the sayings of the wise and their riddles. Yeah. And so it lays out the goal of the book of Proverbs here in the first 6 verses, to learn wisdom and moral instruction, and to discern wise counsel, to receive moral instruction in skillful living, in righteousness, justice, and equity. Yeah. To train that this is what these things look like in a person's life. To impart shrewdness to the morally naive and a discerning plan to the young person. Yeah, many times in life, there are places where if we don't have a plan going into them, then we'll get sucked away in one way or the other. Peer pressure type situations are places where it's very, very difficult to get out of them morally unscathed if what's being pressured is morally wrong. And also with the adulteress as well. Just needs to be a plan in place there type thing. Some forethought put into it. From Guzik here. The Book of Proverbs is a collection of practical life wisdom given mostly in short, memorable statements. Though part of a larger body of wisdom literature that includes Job, Psalms, Ecclesiastes, and the Song of Solomon, the Book of Proverbs is unique. It's unique in its structure, being mostly a collection of individual statements without much context or organization by topic. It is unique in its theology, being concerned with practical life wisdom more than ideas about God and his work of salvation. Proverbs is also unique in its connection with the secular literature of its time. Neighboring kingdoms had their own collection of wisdom literature, and in some places there are significant similarities to these writings. There are several sections of Proverbs. Proverbs 22 through 23 is an example that seem to be borrowed from the teachings of Amenemope, an ancient Egyptian writing. There is debate as to who borrowed whom, but most scholars believe Amenemope is earlier. If Proverbs is the borrower here, the borrowing is not slavish but free and creative. Egyptian jewels, as at the Exodus, have been reset to their advantage by Israelite workmen and put to finer use. The Proverbs of Solomon. Solomon was the king of Israel, famous for his wisdom. In 1 Kings 3 through 13, Solomon asked God for wisdom to lead God's people, and God answered that prayer. 1 Kings then presents a remarkable demonstration of Solomon's wisdom, seen in his response to the problem of the two women and the deceased son. To know wisdom regarding the book of Proverbs, it is helpful to remember the difference between wisdom and knowledge. One may have knowledge without wisdom. Knowledge is the collection of facts. Wisdom is the right use of what we know for daily living. Knowledge can tell one how financial systems work. Wisdom manages a budget properly. It is probably a safe bet to say that most people today are not much interested in wisdom. They are interested in making money and in having a good time. Some are interested in knowing something and getting an education. Almost everyone wants to be well liked, but wisdom, the pursuit of wisdom, is not a popular ideal. To give prudence to the simple. One characteristic of the simple man is that he is gullible. The simple believes every word, but the prudent considers well his steps. The son and the gullible stand on the threshold of full adulthood. The time is at hand when the son and the gullible must make a decisive stand for the godly parents and sages' world and life views and values. Two conflicting worldviews make their appeal, of wisdom and folly, good and pseudo-good, life and death, and one must choose between them, for there is no third way. Yeah. Okay, well, guess that's it. Thank you so much for joining me today. Hope you have a good day.